Taylor and Teddy's story wasn't just about attraction, it was about balance. He was the steady, grounded force she didn't realize she needed. She was the bright, bubbly energy he didn't know he craved. Teddy was 53, a retired engineer who had spent his career building bridges and solving problems. A man of precision and control, he thrived in a world of logic. But beneath his dominant exterior was a man who longed for something softer, something that couldn't be calculated or measured. At 39, Taylor was a walking contradiction. Her radiant smile and infectious laugh, she was the life of every room she entered. But most people didn't see the girl underneath, the one still wrestling with childhood wounds that kept her from fully trusting, from fully connecting. Taylor stood in the kitchen, humming softly as she prepped the table. Her movements were quick and deliberate, the kind of grace born from years of turning chaos into order. She loved hosting, loved taking care of people, but when it came to her own needs, she wasn't as skilled. She glanced at the clock. Teddy would be there soon. He intimidated her in a way no one else did. It wasn't just his commanding presence or the quiet authority he carried in every step. It was the way he saw her. He really saw her. Most people were content with the surface. They loved her for her laughter, her kindness. But Teddy, he asked questions she wasn't ready to answer. Teddy parked his car and took a deep breath, smoothing the front of his shirt. He'd been retired for 5 years, but he still dressed like he had a meeting to run. Old habits die hard. Walking up to Taylor's door, he felt the same mix of anticipation and unease he always did with her. She was a paradox, bright and bubbly, but somehow untouchable. The kind of woman who could light up your world and then leave you wondering if you ever really knew her. When she opened the door, smiling up at him with that radiant energy, he felt the familiar tug in his chest. She was beautiful, yes, but it was more than that. It was the way she made him feel. Right on time, she teased, stepping aside to let him in. Of course, he replied, his tone calm but firm. I wouldn't keep you waiting. Dinner was an intricate dance of wit and warmth. Taylor kept the conversation light, steering it toward funny anecdotes and harmless stories. But Teddy, as always, pushed deeper. You're always taking care of everyone else, he said at one point, his voice low and steady. Who takes care of you? Taylor froze, her smile faltering for just a moment. She quickly recovered, brushing off the question with a joke. But Teddy didn't miss the flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. The night took a turn when they moved to the living room, wine glasses in hand. Taylor curled up on the couch, her bubbly facade cracking just enough for Teddy to glimpse the woman underneath. You know, she said softly, most people think I have it all together. They don't see the mess behind the curtain. Teddy set his glass down, leaning forward. You don't have to have it all together with me. The intensity of his gaze made her chest tighten. She looked away, her fingers toying with the stem of her glass. I'm not used to that, she admitted, letting someone see me. Teddy reached over, his hand covering hers. Then let me be the first. The kiss started slow, hesitant. Taylor wasn't used to surrendering, and Teddy wasn't used to asking. But when her lips parted and his hands slid to the back of her neck, the hesitation melted away. He guided her, gently but firmly, his dominance not a demand but an offering. She responded in kind, her hands exploring his chest, her touch tentative but growing bolder with every passing second. By the time they made it to her bedroom, the dynamic had shifted. Taylor let herself be vulnerable, trusting him to lead. And Teddy, for the first time in years, felt his control tempered by something deeper, an overwhelming desire to protect and cherish. As she lay beneath him, her body yielding to his touch, Taylor felt a mix of emotions she couldn't name. He wasn't just taking from her, he was giving too. Every kiss, every caress felt like a promise, a silent reassurance that she didn't have to carry it all alone. When he whispered her name, his voice thick with need, she shivered, her walls crumbling one by one. For the first time in years, she felt seen, safe, wanted. Teddy couldn't get enough of her. The way she gasped when his lips found her neck, the way her body arched beneath him, meeting his movements with her own. She was intoxicating, strong and soft, fierce and vulnerable. But it wasn't just the physical connection that overwhelmed him. It was the way she trusted him, the way she let him in despite her fears. He didn't take that lightly. When they finally collapsed into each other, spent and sated, Teddy held her close, his fingers brushing her hair as she drifted off to sleep. Teddy awoke to the sound of Taylor humming in the kitchen, the scent of coffee and pancakes filling the air. He found her standing at the stove, wearing one of his shirts, her hair mist, but her smile radiant. "You spoil me," he said, leaning against the doorway. "Someone has to," she replied with a wink. He crossed the room, pulling her into his arms. "Taylor," he said softly, "I mean it. You don't have to do this alone." She looked up at him, her eyes searching his. "I don't know how to let someone help," she admitted. "Then let me show you." Taylor and Teddy were a study in contrast, dominance and devotion, logic and emotion, but together they found balance. For Teddy, her nurturing spirit softened the edges of his control. For Taylor, his steady presence gave her the courage to let go. Their story was just beginning, a symphony of two hearts learning to play in harmony. And though the road ahead wouldn't always be smooth, one thing was certain: they were in this together.